Determine the domain and range of the following function. F of x is equal to the quantity x minus 1 squared plus 3. So to determine the domain of this function, we have to look at first this particular expression. We know that for any real number, we can always perform subtraction, right? So here, we can always subtract a number by 1. We can always square any number. Ibig sabihin, multiply mo lang siya sa self niya, and you can always add to that number 3. And there is no restriction to that, no? So, kunyari, x is equal to 1. This particular value will just become 1 minus 1 squared plus 3, or is equal to, this is 0 squared plus 3 is 3 plus 0 is 3. And we can also write, we can also put negative values of x. Let us say negative 1. So if x is negative 1, you have negative 1 minus 1. You can always square that 1 and add that by 3. So in this case, this is negative 2 squared. So negative 2 squared plus 3, and this is just equal to 4 plus 3 is 7. So basically, we can always substitute any value of x in this expression, and there is no restriction to that. So ibig sabihin, from here, we can say that the domain of the function, we will denote that domain of the function by d of f. The domain of the function is any real number, so the set of any real number. Now, looking at the graph of the function, this one is the graph of the function f of x, or y is equal to x, quantity x minus 1 squared plus 3. And we observe that this function here is a parabola facing upward. And this function, the values here extends to a positive infinity. So, infinite yung kanyang graph pataas, no? So, ayun, makikita mo siya that there is no end to that, right? And we can always see that since there is no end to the values of function values, now there are always value to any point on the x, right? On the x-axis. If we start with x is equal to 0, the value of the function is this one, 4, makikita natin doon. And at this point, that is the point 1, 3. Yeah. So point A is the point 1, 3. So for input 1, may value pa rin siya, 3. No? Let us say for input 2, may value pa rin siya na 4. And all values on the x-axis, you name it, there is an equivalent value in y to that. Alright? So, ibig sabihin, all x in the all x no in this in the x-axis, no, all inputs has equivalent output on the y, right? That is why the domain of this function is the set of real numbers. Now for the range of f, we note that this particular value here of f of x, the x minus 1 squared, is always greater than or equal to 0. Ibig sabihin, no? So when you square a number, it's always greater than or equal to 0. It's just that multiplying a number by itself, right? So it's always greater than or equal to 0. And if we add both sides, of this inequality by 3, right? So if we add 3 here, if we add 3 naman dito, in effect, that is just, that will just give you, okay, ito kasi, no, this one here, this is just f of x, alright? That is just f of x. So meaning f of x is greater than or equal to 0 plus 3. So f of x is greater than 3, right? So itong mga f of x, these are just y values, right? So if you draw the xy plane, no? So yung mga f of x, again, no, the f of x are just y values. These are yung mga mga output natin. So if we draw, okay, so i-draw natin, no? So 1, this is y is equal to 1, y is equal to 2, and y is equal to 3. Ibig sabihin daw, ang mga values ng y natin ay 3 pataas, no? So mula dito up to any point that is greater than or equal to 3. Yan yung ating mga y values. Ibig sabihin, yung graph ng function natin, if you draw the horizontal line dito sa 3, yung graph ng function natin ay makikita mo lang dito sa taas ng 3, somewhere here. So kung nakita nyo kanina, yung graph ng function natin ay sa parabola, no? Na nandito. Alright? So, ibig sabihin, no? So, from here, we can say from here that the range of the function or the range of f, we will denote that one by r sub f for the range of f. Ibig sabihin that the range of f is within, no? Pasok siya doon sa interval na f of x is greater than or equal to 3, or y, again, this is y is greater than or equal to 3. So in interval notation, ito ay 3 to positive infinity. So that means that the range of f is within this interval. Alright? And to show equality nga, kasi nga subset lang ito, we have to pick, no, any element. Okay, so again, we have to show that, okay, for any value of y in the interval, ito na interval, alright, 3 to positive infinity, kailangan may makita tayo na value ng x. There is an x in the domain of f such that, right? So such that f of x is equal to y. Ano ibig sabihin nito? If we pick, no, a point, let us say a point, balik tayo dito, no? If you pick a point y on this interval, let us say this point here, this particular point here, and this is our point y, okay? This is our particular point y, that is our f of x. Kailangan daw mayroon kang makita na x dito sa x-axis, of course, no? In this case x, may makita ka na point sa x such that the image of that, or the output of that, is this point here. So there should have a point, this point on the graph, and this point on the graph is the point with coordinates x, f of x. So yung input, ito naman yung ating output. If you will go back to our graph, visually this graph, no? So ang range natin will just be from 3, because there is a value there, 3 up to positive infinity. So makikita natin na visually that the graph, okay, the y value starts from 3 up to positive infinity. There is no point below that. Let us say itong 2, y is equal to 2. There is no value of x that can give you an output 2. That is why, as I said kanina, dito no, I picked some point here. Let us say I pick y is equal to 4. May value ba ng x na ang output noon ay 4? In this case, meron tayong nakita that point 2. So itong 2 na ito will send you to 4. And the other one is this point here, 0. When x is equal to 0, there is a point on the graph. Kung 5 naman, if y is equal to 5, okay, so the values, magdraw ka lang ng parang horizontal line dito, no? The values of x are ito na value, okay, somewhere at between 2 and 3, no, that will send you to that output. Dapat may makita ka. And there is another also, ito, no, in between 0 and -1, that will send you to this this output. All right, that is why we claim that the range starts from 3 up to positive infinity. All right, so going back here, so we have to look for an x such that f of x is equal to y. All right, so and again our f of x is equal to this one, so we write f of x, so f of x is equal to x minus 1 squared plus 3, and we equate that is our f of x. Ito na yung f of x natin. We will equate that to y. So our goal now is to solve for the value of x. So to solve for x, we add both sides by -3. Okay, so this is plus 3, okay, is equal to y. We add both sides by -3, right? So plus -3 and then plus -3. All right, so and then we know that this particular value is 0. Okay, so this one will just become x minus 1 squared is equal to y minus 3. Plus minus 3 is y minus 3. Next step is, right, to take the square root of this one. Take the square root of this one and also this one. That will just give you, right, the square root of a number here is just the absolute value of that number, which is equal to the square root of y minus 3. And the absolute value of this number is just x minus 1, but we're not sure if it's positive or negative. So we can take the positive or the negative of that, square root of y minus 3, right? So x is equal to, okay, add tayo ulit ng positive 1 so that ma-0 ito, or just transpose that to the other side. You just have x is equal to 1 plus square root of y minus 3. In effect, we have now value of x for any value of y, which is greater than or equal to 3. And again, we are sure here that this particular value in the radicand is always defined because we know that the value of y is greater than or equal to 3. It cannot be negative. Take note that kapag meron kang square root ng number, this number x here must not be negative because we are talking about real numbers here and we only have a square root of a positive number or square root of 0.